From Saskatoon gangster to woman of distinction, Shay McDonald has had a wild ride, and she's here today to share with us what she's learned along the way. But before we bring her in, here's a peek at what you're going to get.
Staying up for days on end, making peace with the shadow people around me. I always told myself I was never going to go as far down as touching crystal meth. I had been so far gone with my addictions and so entrenched in the gang life, I just wanted to get high. It instantly just took the soul right out of me. I struggled and I spiraled, going deeper and deeper. I had been so used to people telling me that I would never make it anywhere in life. It was normal to me. However, in 2023, I was nominated for the Women of Distinction Award.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Friday Morning Freestyle. Before we bring in Shay, I just want to remind you that today's episode is sponsored by Stronger Together Canada, peer-led support groups by Mums Stop the Harm. We're going to learn a little bit more about them in a little bit. First, let's bring in Shay. How are you, Shay?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me this morning.
You're welcome. You were on a little while ago.
I was.
Yeah, over a year now, almost like a year and a half maybe, hey?
I think it was almost 2 years ago in October, maybe.
Wow.
Because I was working at eFry at the time.
Yeah, and you came in from the eFry office. Now I remember.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And Kaylee brought you in, and she did the chair spin. She was like,
She did. Yes.
Yeah. Good morning, Ashes to Awesome Podcast. Good to see you in the chat. Give them a follow on Facebook and give them a sub on YouTube. Where can we even start? I know in the intro, you talked about you never saw yourself taking these substances, and even before the show, we were talking a little bit about how you're speaking to people who simply are shocked that the things that you've experienced are happening in Saskatoon. You know, like typically these things happen somewhere else. You know, you hear about East Hastings, you hear about down in the States. How did this all really get started for you here in Saskatoon? Did you grow up in Saskatoon?
I was born and raised here in Saskatoon. I come from a small family. Let's see, going back, there was a lot of childhood trauma. And I think that's what kind of, when you go back and you think about a lot of people who struggle with addictions, a lot of it comes, I'd say, from the childhood stuff. And we don't know how to deal with that. We don't have the proper tools, the resources, the supports in our life to work through those things when we're so young. Oftentimes we just push it down. We're told sometimes not to talk about it.
You know, and even at a certain age, maybe we don't even necessarily recognize that what we're seeing is wrong.
Oh, exactly. For sure.
Yeah.
I'd say a lot of the stuff that I did encounter in my earliest years, I didn't see it as being wrong. It was kind of normalized to me. You know, like, I love my mom. She struggled, had her own struggles growing up. I used to hold a lot of resentment towards her, and it wasn't until later on in life that I realized that her too, she was struggling and she was hurting, and hurt people sometimes hurt people. And my mom's everything to me to this day. Like, we're working on our relationship. We have a really healthy relationship today. I try to support her the best I can. And I had to forgive her and also myself for, putting so much blame towards her. I had to realize that she had a lot of things that happened to her that I didn't understand at a young age. And she did her absolute best she could for me while I was growing up. And, we all struggle, and it's all about the way that we handle things. And she just wasn't aware of, I guess, the supports that were out there for her. No one had shown her the way.
So when you started to get involved in gang activity, did that feel like a normal transition to you? Was it like the draw of the excitement, or was it the sense of family, or what was it that brought you into that?
I'd say the main thing was a sense of family, belonging. I wanted to kind of create my own family. A lot of the people that I grew up with in school, I remember before I got to grade 6, I went to a pretty good school, St. Marguerite. It's in the Parkridge neighborhood. And a lot of the students were Caucasian. I was one of the only Indigenous students in that school.
Mhm.
And so a lot of my friends came from, you know, families with both parents. They would sit at the table, eat together. They would have big homes, pools, all these fun games, nice things. And I kind of sort of became like a latch kid. I would always want to be at my friends' houses. I felt like there was something lacking in my own home that I was so attracted to staying at these places. But sometimes I'd overhear the parents, wondering, well, doesn't your mom wonder where you are? When are you going to go home? Subtle hints that it was, time for me to go because, I was a little girl and they had their own family. And I didn't understand that at the time until I kind of grew up and started my healing journey and then reflected a lot on my childhood and growing up. But another reason that led me kind of to the gang life, and I don't blame him for it, but I idolized my older brother growing up. So my brother, he always had nice cars, nice clothes, pretty girlfriends. He seemed like he had like a glamorous life. And the one thing I always recognized about my brother is he had a bandana. And as a little girl, I didn't really quite understand what that bandana represented until I joined my first gang at 11. And then I kind of understood like, okay, this is what it's about. But for me, it wasn't that glamour lifestyle in the beginning. Definitely, it was a struggle.
What did your brother say when you jumped in?
So my brother didn't actually know until he went to the penitentiary in 2009. And once he heard that I was living in that lifestyle, he was not impressed. He never wanted that for me. He was kind of who I looked up to in life. He would come and make sure, he'd always check on me, bring me gifts. And like my brother and I were very close. He was almost like a second dad to me in my life. And so I just wanted to really be like my brother. I thought that the lifestyle he was living was a really good life. I didn't really know any better. And then once I got involved, I started seeing it for how it really was.
So, and what was that like? Like, were you disheartened? Were you disappointed when you started to see what an actual grind it was? And like, I'm sure you started to see things that were like maybe even disturbing to you.
Oh, for sure. Like
Yeah.
I saw a lot of disturbing things growing up that no child or anybody should have to see in their lifetime. I still suffer sometimes from nightmares, PTSD from the impacts of things that I've been involved in, had to do, been forced to do, especially being so young.
Yeah.
I mean, as I got older, I started making my own decisions. But when you're, 11, 12, 13, 14, you're still super young. When you're in high school, you're still growing and developing. Your brain is not fully developed. And then mixing that with the addictions, I started using at a really young age as well. And so that didn't help at all either.
What did your family say when you started on this journey? Like when you started using, when you started, taking part in gang activity?
So I remember the first day. So I had joined a gang at 11. It was an all-girl gang in Saskatoon. I had got jumped in and given my bandana. And I went home and I was like beat up. And my mom was like, what happened to you? And I was just, oh, nothing. I just fell down, kind of just trying to come up with any excuse, not telling her like, oh, hey, I got jumped into a gang. I didn't want her to know that. Like I said, even though my mom had her struggles, she still always did her best to try to be there for me. But that relationship wasn't healthy at the time between us. We didn't see eye to eye. I was getting to that age where I had a lot of built up anger in me. I wanted to just do my own thing and I was wilding out at a really young age. So there was nothing really that my mom or anybody could have done at that time. And like I said, I came from a small family. My other brother was living up north at the time with his father. My oldest brother was already moved out of the house because he's 18 years older than I am. So he was gone before I was even born. So it was just really my mom and I, and she didn't really have that control over me because at such a young age, the drugs took control over me. The streets had control over me.
And that had, like, in your mind, that probably took precedence, right?
Yeah.
So we got a couple of comments here. We got, and I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. Let's see here. Bodini Leahy. I guess you talked to him in Calder.
Oh.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for the comment. And we've got Erin Leah saying, "Hey, girlfriend, so proud of you."
Thank you.
Yeah. So when did things start to go? I mean, they went wrong. We've already talked about it very early on, but when did you start noticing? When did you start to like feel like maybe this was a bad decision and you wanted to get out?
I never really wanted to get out. I wanted to keep leveling up. See, I
Did
started
you?
at the bottom and I did. I worked
Mhm.
my way up to the higher up status eventually later on in my teens.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the goal for me. I just wanted to continue going in. Like I started going in and out of the jail system, Kilburn Hall. I was 13, I believe, when I picked up my first charge for assault. A lot of my charges in my youth were assaults because I had, like I said, I had all that built up anger. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to work through it. When you're living in that negative kind of, the street lifestyle, there's not people around you who are saying, hey, I know where you can reach out to for help. Let me guide you to somebody who's going to, help you work through this. Let me take you to a counselor. Let me show you who my mentor is. There's not those kind of people that I was with in my life at that age. So I was just I was comfortable with where I was at, living in survival mode.
Mm-hmm. Did you see a future when at that age you just wanted to keep leveling up? Like, was there an exit plan at all? Or was it just like keep going until the end?
It was just keep going. I think when I was in my teenage years, I didn't think I'd be here today to be the age I'm 29
on
now.
Hard Knocks Talks.
Yeah, I never pictured myself being on Hard Knocks Talks because, it's so easy for people to look down on people struggling with addiction. I struggled with mental health. I struggled in the gang life.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes I believed a lot of the things that people would tell me, how I was never going to make it out. I was worthless. I was just a bad kid. They would label me, being in the jail system. They just look at you. They don't even treat you like a human, even as a child. It's sickening. You're just another number locked in an iron cage.
Mm-hmm.
And
what do they call disposable kids, throwaway kids?
Yeah,
I think that's the term.
It's a broken system, and it really messed with me, and I started to believe all of those negative things I was hearing. And that's just kind of, I thought, well, if they're gonna think all of this of me, well, then I'm just gonna keep living this way. And when I was struggling with the addictions, nothing really mattered anymore. I got into the hard drugs, or by the time I was 13, I had already, been a full-blown addict. I didn't make it through high school. I didn't see a future for myself. I honestly thought I wouldn't make it past 25 with the way I was living, because so many of my friends in that lifestyle were dropping so fast.
Was there any time that you were using to die?
There have been times, where I just didn't care. Like there was multiple times where I would use, and I knew I had overdosed multiple times. I knew that there were times when I could feel myself like I was going to go under. And at that point, I didn't care if I was coming or going.
You just accepted it?
Yep.
When did the switch flip? When did you start to see a glimmer of the possibility that life could be different?
So I was last incarcerated in 2019, and I kind of had an epiphany kind of moment where I thought I could do something I've never done. I could reach out for help, or I could continue living this way. And I thought, some people say that you can't find healing in prison, but for myself, that's where it started.
I've heard enough stories. One who stands out to me is Chantel Huel.
Yes.
Jailhouse Genesis. And while maybe it's not the best environment to try to heal, it can definitely plant a seed somewhere in that misery.
Absolutely. And it did. And I started to, because at that point I didn't have drugs, I didn't have alcohol. I had a clear mind. I was able to start thinking normally. And that's actually where
I'm going to interrupt you. Sorry.
Okay.
Thinking normally. That's tough, because we're creatures of habit, right?
Yes.
Like we think a certain way, we find safety in toxicity. Now, when you say I started to think normally, like when that first thought trickled into your mind, was it like, who said that?
I had like a voice in my mind saying like, you can do it. Just keep going. And I'm just
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah,
It
who
was
is that?
it was the quiet voice, wasn't it? Like
Yeah.
Tommy LaPlante always says, there's lots of loud voices. Listen to the quiet one.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah,
I actually
yeah.
just met Tommy about a week or so ago, and he has a really inspiring story. I was super glad to meet the guy. Awesome. Looking forward to maybe doing work with him in the future.
Yeah, I think
That'd be
you'd be a
great.
good fit. Yeah,
For sure.
Got a couple more comments coming in here. We've got Sharon Acus in the chat. Let's see what do we got here. Sharon says, Shay, I'm so proud of you. We two pass. We two peas in a pod. And we've got Owen with the heart. Owen needs not say more than that. Good to see you in the chat, Owen. Prestigious Shay Productions. Give him a sub on YouTube here. He's on Facebook too, doing good work out there. And we've got Twinkle. Feels like I haven't seen you for a while, Twinkle. Good morning. Good morning. So these thoughts start coming in. Would you say intrusive?
I struggle with a lot of negative intrusive thoughts, but at the time when I started having that clear mind of not being on drugs and alcohol, I'd say some of them were positive thoughts. Kind of like, it was almost like, I like to think of like myself being protected by, you know, my ancestors and guardian angels. And I think there was somebody, maybe multiple people that were telling me, trying to get through to me. But because of the drugs and alcohol, it's like I was in a different realm. They couldn't reach me when I was stuck in that life, when I was stuck using, because nobody could get through to me at that point. But once I had that kind of a bit of a clear mind for a while, I started to, hear the positive things. And that's actually where I thought, you know what? I know I'm never going to finish school if I'm on the outs. It's just not going to work. Sober, not. I didn't want to go sit in a classroom. I wasn't ready for it. I had dropped out in grade 10. And so I signed up for school 2019 in Pine Grove. I got accepted to go into the classroom.
Was that surprising?
It was because there's not a lot of resources in jail. There's not a lot of things you can do. And like usually like the wait list for things is so long. So I was like, oh my God, I got in. And that was kind of like a moment where I was like, okay, I'm being given a chance here. I need to take this chance and do what I can with it. So I ended up graduating in Pine Grove. Thank you. I always say I graduated with honors in jail.
My.
Yes.
Wow.
I also have a PhD.
From the street.
Yes. A Pleasant Hill degree.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I never heard that one before.
Yeah. it's funny because I heard Tommy say it too. And like, I had said it a couple years ago and I was like, oh, I didn't know anybody else. I mean, there's lots of people who have that PhD on the streets. Absolutely.
That's the first time it's ever been said on this show.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad they
brought it to the front line.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So once I graduated, it was just kind of like, that was the first time I really felt proud of myself. Like, I can do something with myself. I got my grade 12 in jail, sure, but I still did it. I put that work in and I got that. And it was a huge accomplishment for me.
Did you start making positive friends in Pine Grove? Like, did you start to make a little circle of people that wanted to go the same direction?
I did actually. So there wasn't very many of us, but there was a couple of us. We did like Bible study together. We would go see the elder together. We would stick together and try to encourage each other to do better, you know, work out, be together, whatever it was. Just trying to, just doing positive things together, because in such a negative space, in such a dark place, jail is not fun. That's not, you know, you don't go to jail to make friends. I came out of there with one solid friend who I'm still friends with to this day. And she tells me that I'm one of the reasons that she changed her life around. And I'm like, but you know what? You're the one who put the work in. So you need to, you know, be proud of yourself. I may have planted seeds in your mind, but you put that work in. And so I'm still very close with her to this day. And I'm super glad she was the one person that I walked out with in there. Well, I actually got out and she ended up going to the pen. And then when she got released, we were reconnected. And yeah, we have a really strong bond now.
Danielle Highway says, I love you, Shay. So proud of you. And I look up to you, big sis.
Thank you. I love you too.
So tell us about getting out. Were you nervous? Were you scared?
So I actually took a chance and I applied for the Women's Reintegration Unit.
Okay.
And I thought, the guards were like, oh, you're not going to get accepted. There's so many like this correctional officer culture where like they just think that people aren't ever going to change, which isn't true.
And I mean,
know
and they do see a lot of that.
they do. Fair enough.
But where is the responsibility? The responsibility doesn't completely lie on the individual. I mean,
Yeah.
systemic barriers in place to finding a pathway to wellness
Yeah.
is
I
challenging.
said like it could start in there with those COs if they had the, if they were to just look at somebody like they were an actual human
Mhm.
and not just a number or an inmate,
Mhm.
they could start sparking that change for somebody. And there was, I'd say, a handful of them that actually helped me to believe in myself. And they told me when I left, they're like, we will kick your ass if you come back here again. Cause like I had been in I was more in throughout my younger years. And then I spent, in 2019, I did my longest bit. And then I was in twice before that. So they were just telling me like they seen the potential I had that I couldn't see in myself yet. But so there was a couple other ones that were saying, oh, you're not going to get accepted to CTR, or it was called CTR before, but now it's called Women's Reintegration Unit. So I remember the day clearly when Tammy came to panel the ladies to see who would be a good fit.
Mhm.
And Tammy, she's the director, and she's just a small woman, small but mighty.
Mhm.
And I had heard so many different things about her, and I was really nervous. And I remember going in and talking to her and just like I said, you know what, I got to be honest. I got to just tell her like what my intentions are, that I'm ready to do this. I don't want to end up dead or in jail for the rest of my life. I want to change.
So at this point, you had found like honesty within yourself to speak your truth and
Yes.
to just be vulnerable.
Yeah, because she had been putting it on me. Like she knew who my family was. Like she was like asking me about my brother. And then she's like, like, I know you know these people. Are you going to stay away from them? And I'm like, well, like, I can't guarantee I'm going to stay away from them because, I'm still transitioning and, I'm only human. We make mistakes, but I can promise you I'm going to do my absolute best to keep going and to be the change that I want to see in myself. And I was like in tears, and I just remember being so nervous, and there was like an awkward silence. And then she looked at me and she said, all right, go pack your bags. You're coming back with me. And it was like a moment again. Then I'm like tearing up and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, but this time it's tears of joy, not sadness, not pain, not hurt. It was another chance where it was like that divine design moment, I'll call it, where it was like, I'm getting another chance in life and I can't mess it up. First, I was given the chance with school. I completed that. I made it through that. I'm giving another chance to be on the outs, doing my time in the community. And that was going to be the real test.
Yeah.
Like in jail, it's easy to do good for sure. But once you get released, there's temptations, there's people from your past, there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's all different kinds of things that are going to tempt you to, go back to that lifestyle. And I was still really early in my recovery.
So what was it like? Like, did you go back out into community exactly where you came in from?
I went to the halfway house and
It's on 20th, right? Just off
no,
20th.
that one's the federal halfway house. So this one
Oh.
is in Lawson Heights. So it's actually it's a pretty nice area.
Yeah.
I'm secluded away from a lot of people. And that's where I reached out to Straight Up. And that is where I began my journey of becoming a Straight Up member. I met with Stan. We went over the goals and conditions. I took a couple weeks to write my autobiography. It was really tough writing that autobiography for sure, but it's also helped me a lot with my healing, understanding where I've come from and how I've worked through those things.
Did it flow? Like when you were writing it, was it easy, or did you have to really think and like put things in place?
I had to think a lot. I think too, with like the amount of drugs that I used over the years, there's bits and pieces of my life that I had blocked out, that I just like couldn't remember. I've written my autobiography a couple times now, and every time you write it, you remember more things because sometimes you push down those memories and you try to forget them, things that happen.
Every time I tell my story, it's different.
For sure, and you remember more, right?
Yeah.
So it's I always recommend to people like write out your story so you can understand yourself and where you've been and how can we work through those things together. That's when I heard those goals and conditions, that's when I started to implement them into my daily life. And so I was being an honest person. I was working through, you know, my traumas. I was seeing a counselor. I was journaling. I was, you know, smudging every day, going to sweats when I could. I started becoming connected to my culture, which was something that I didn't have growing up. I was very disconnected from my culture. And then when I was using, it's just not appropriate to be using and then being around ceremony. It's disrespectful. Yeah.
And I've heard that conversation come up before, and I've heard people say that that throws up a barrier in healing. You know what I mean? Like people who are still using, maybe they could benefit from. And I'm not here to critique or judge or anything. This is just conversations that I've heard people with opinions make. What do you think about that?
Like culture and addiction?
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people sometimes turn to addictions because of the loss of culture, the impact of, you know, intergenerational trauma, colonization. A lot of us as Indigenous people, we've been through a lot of struggles, and we're disconnected from our own identity, our culture, our traditions. We don't grow up with it. We don't have it. And I think that sometimes if we were able to be connected to it, it could really benefit us, because for me, I found a lot of healing with ceremony as well, smudging and praying daily, gratitude for sure. I used to take so many things for granted in my life, and now I'm like, thank you, Creator, for like my limbs, my health, my vision, everything that I used to take for granted, you know, the home I live in, my partner, my family, everything in life. I was so ungrateful. I didn't, you know, I was just...
You didn't know what you had.
I didn't know what I had. I didn't know the value of life and how beautiful it could be.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I still sometimes struggle with gratitude with my champagne problems. Oh, what if something goes wrong on the live stream? Oh, that'll wreck my whole
First
day.
world problems.
Yeah. We got a comment coming in here from Aaron Lee. Aaron, thanks for the comment. Aaron says, shout your story from the rooftops. The spoken words can empower and inspire so many struggling as we once did. Love seeing you shine and being a voice for so many who don't have one.
Thank you.
So tell us about a little bit further on in your integration into community. I mean, you mentioned you started working with Straight Up. You were living in a halfway house. What was it like moving out of the halfway house? Like, did you go into your own apartment, or was there another step in the reintegration? What did that look like?
So I actually, before I got out of the halfway house, another huge step for me was I was at the White Buffalo Youth Lodge, and actually Sharon, who is on watching today, she shared her story at the White Buffalo Youth Lodge, and I was there for a program night with a couple girls from the halfway house, and I thought, wow, this is a powerful story, and look at where she is now. And I was thinking, I remember they had a booth there where First Nations University was, and they were waiving the fee. And I just remember thinking, like, this woman has a PhD, like an actual PhD.
Yeah.
I
don't even know what actual PhD stands for.
Pleasant Hill doctorate. Just kidding. No, I'm sure she's got one of those too.
Probably 4 or 5.
I just remember hearing her story, and it just sparked more inspiration in me. I was so moved by it, and I thought, it's so similar. You know, I've been through a lot of things that she has been through. I mean, everybody's story is different, but I had related to a lot of the things she had said. And I remember just thinking, if she can do that, what's stopping me from going out and reaching my full potential and doing everything that I want to do in life?
Shay, that's it.
There's no limit. I tell myself that now. There's no limit on what you can do. The sky isn't the limit. There is no limit. You can do anything you want to do with your life. You just got to do it with, you know, motivation, be determined, hard work. Yeah, at a time. Absolutely.
One at a time. Man. One foot in front of the other.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Baby steps.
So many of us that have struggled with substances, we're so caught in that instant gratification, right?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes people are like, I want to be an influencer, and then they post one meme and it doesn't go viral, and they're like, this is too hard.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and it's a grind. And like
is.
everything that will breed success is going to be a grind.
Yeah,
And like
definitely.
I've learned that, and not every day is good. I have lots of bad days still, you know, like there's
Oh,
lots of
yeah.
days where it's just like I'm down on myself and these
Mhm.
kids and
Yeah.
the house, trying to get a house,
We're
whatever.
only human, man.
You know, yeah.
You know, we all
But
have our days.
at the end of it, I know like when I come out of the other side of a challenge, like if I'm striving for something and I
Mhm.
achieve that and it's really hard, one of my friends, Barb Fornsler, she says,
Yeah.
never make a big decision while you're climbing the mountain.
Mm.
Commit. Climb the mountain. When you get to the top, then you can decide.
I like that.
Yeah.
Wise words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From another actual PhD.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to have one of those one day, like a
Yeah.
real one.
Oh, are you?
That's the goal. Yeah.
All right.
I want to just keep leveling up and just keep doing the work that I'm doing. I love it. I found my purpose in life to just keep going and to keep helping people the best I can and being a voice for those who need it, and just anything I can do to help. I'd love to just be there for the community that I once damaged, you know, giving back.
Yeah. Tell us a little, actually, you know what? Before we talk anymore, let's take a moment and hear from today's sponsors.
We've watched our children walk away. We've felt hopeless, powerless. We are moms, stop the harm. We are not hopeless. We are not powerless. Stronger Together Canada is a national network of peer-led support groups to help navigate these challenges. If you're coping with a child's substance use, reach out to www.holdinghopecanada.org. If you've lost a child to drug poisoning or overdose, www.healingheartscanada.org. We're here to help, and we are stronger together.
So tell us about, you just mentioned the community that you harmed. Has there ever been anybody or any circumstances where people have maybe tried to seek revenge for things you've done in the past, or confronted you and said, this, you hurt me, and was angry? Has there been stuff like that?
Absolutely, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was working the steps early in my recovery and I wanted to make amends with people that I had hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I had reached out. Obviously, I couldn't reach out to every single person, but I had reached out to the ones that I could remember and the ones that I really hurt deeply. Some of them forgave me and others just told me to F off. I don't know if I can swear on here, so I'm just going to say F off.
Yeah.
You know, and I got to accept that, because it's not, I can apologize and I can let them know, you know, like that's not who I am anymore. I've hurt a lot of people. I've hurt the communities that I've lived in. I try to give back when I can. I can't fix everything that I've done, but hopefully they can see that I've changed and I'm trying to live I am living a better life, and I'm giving back in healthy and good ways now and trying to make up for all of the things that I've done in my past, which is a lot of hurt and pain and trauma that I've inflicted on people in my past life. And I can't fix everything, like I said, but I can continue living in a healthy way and doing the best I can and being good to the people who are around me. And yeah, you know, some of those people, I just have to accept that they're not going to forgive me. They're not ready yet. But maybe one day they will be. You know, there was a lot of friends of mine that I had done really bad things to, and I don't blame them for not wanting to forgive me or not being ready to yet. Maybe one day they will, maybe one day they won't, but that's something I have to live with, and I have to forgive myself for those things that I've done, because I think that forgiveness is super important when you're on your healing journey. You have to be able to forgive yourself and others, but most importantly, like, the key person I had to forgive was myself, because I had a lot of shame and guilt and I really beat myself up over it. A lot of the things that I did, it's like I kind of had like a conscience about it, where I knew in the back of my mind that like I would hurt somebody and then I would feel really bad about it. Even though I was, you know, a gang member, I was struggling with my addictions, my mental health was deteriorating. I still had that, you know, that little voice telling me like that wasn't right, but I wasn't ready to, you know, make things right yet. I was still stuck. I was
Yeah,
still
yeah.
stuck in that trench of the lifestyle I was living.
Yeah, and that was going to be the next thing I was going to ask. Does it still come back? Like with the things that you have apologized for or you have made amends for, does that bad guilt or shame still come back, or is it just gone now?
You know, there's some days where maybe something crosses my mind, or I'm sharing my story with somebody and I remember something I did. And for sure, I have those waves of, you know, guilt
Mhm.
and shame. But then I remind myself that's not who I am anymore and I can't change the past. And I mean, ultimately, everything I've done in the past has shaped me into who I am today.
Mhm.
I wish I could go back and take back a lot of things that I did to people, but I
Mhm.
can't.
Mhm.
I can only continue to live life in a healthy way and just treat everybody how I want to be treated and treat them like humans, treat
Yeah.
them kind, you know, with compassion, understanding.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm in the line of work I'm in now, is because that's what I want to do for the people. I want to, you know, I want to be there for them, because I find that sometimes it's easier to work with somebody who can understand where you're coming from. And
I think that that's more than sometimes.
yeah.
I think that, and one of my slogans, and since the beginning, has been lived experiences in education second to none.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We know things in a way that goes beneath language.
For
You know,
sure.
it goes even, it's more of an emotion, but maybe sometimes it even goes deeper than that. And when you sit across from someone that can look into you with kindness that only comes from pain,
Mm-hmm.
there's just a level of understanding and rapport that can move the conversation forward,
Yeah.
than a lanyard and a clipboard ever
Yeah.
could.
Absolutely.
You know what I
I
mean?
agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Have you ever come across anyone from your old life in your line of work? Like, have you ever gone into a speaking engagement, or have you ever walked into an office and there's bro from back in the day, or anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have people reach out to me from back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
and they ask me, like, how did you do it? How can I do this?
Mm-hmm.
Can you help me? And like, of course I want to help people. Of course I'll give them resources. You know, I'll tell them, this is, you know, you can reach out to this person. I'll give you a list of places that you can go to. Here's, you know, a counseling list, mental health list.
Mm-hmm.
Here's different programs that are available in the city. If I can, you know, give resources to everybody. And the great thing about a lot of these resources is they're free, but not a
Mhm.
lot of people know about them. Like I said earlier, when you're in that lifestyle, there's not people guiding you to these things that can help you. A lot of people just get comfortable living where they're at, and they don't know where to reach out to, and they don't know how to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a huge step for somebody to message myself or anybody and say,
Oh, it is.
can you help me?
It is.
I know that was hard for me.
Well, and that's I always go back to this conversation when this topic comes up. The thought of calling central intake, the thought of calling anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if that action takes place, that is a reason to celebrate.
Absolutely.
That is a reason. You
Yep.
made it. You
Yes.
made it this far. Thank you. Congratulations. We're so proud of you for making even just the call.
Absolutely, for
You know?
sure.
So we got a comment coming in here from our friend, the new ED of the Elizabeth Fry Society, Nicole Brigovich. Nicole says, the best apology is changed behavior. Would you agree?
I agree.
Thanks for the comment, Nicole.
Thank you.
Where else can we go? Now, how long have you been in recovery now?
I have been in recovery. I haven't used crystal meth or any other hard substances. Like, my choice of drug was uppers
Mhm.
for almost 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after I quit using uppers, I was in the hospital where I was given opiates. And so that sparked another addiction for me.
Mhm.
This addiction didn't last very long, because I realized, like, I
You saw
had given one bottle and I was dope sick. I didn't realize that the dope sickness I was feeling, like, I had never felt that with the other drugs. Like, it was more of like a psychological
Yeah.
thing for me. But with like the body dependence, how sick I was like, I can't keep living like this. Like, so I went on for about a year with using just buying off the street drinking people's methadone when I couldn't find pills, like,
Mm-hmm.
because that was a struggle. Like, when I'm looking for uppers, it was easy to go, door to door. I knew different places I could go easily and find it wherever if I
Mm-hmm.
really needed it. But when it came down to trying to find different kinds of like painkillers or anything to, help my body just feel better, I wasn't even using to like get high anymore, because I wasn't getting high. It was just to
Yeah.
stop feeling sick.
The party was over.
Yeah, and I was just getting so sick of life. And then when I drank a person's methadone, it was like way too high of a dose. I just about killed myself. I turned white. I started shaking. I had to go to the hospital, get my stomach pumped.
Mm-hmm.
It was
How were you treated?
I can say that multiple times I've been in the hospital, I've been treated very poorly. I've been
Mhm.
discriminated against, being a person, with substance use disorder, being an Indigenous woman. I've, felt like they look at me as like just wanting pills or wanting drugs, wanting a free high, wanting, that's,
Mm-hmm.
which actually brings me to my practicum. So I actually chose I
Practicum in what? That's
an Indigenous social work.
okay.
So
we haven't said that out
we
loud
haven't
yet.
said that out loud yet.
Okay,
No.
how long you been making that work?
I'm in my 4th year now.
You are not.
I am.
Oh.
I'm starting my 4th year this fall. I'm doing my practicum at St. Paul's Hospital,
Nice.
the social work department,
Okay.
where I'm going to go in
Just
there.
kick everyone's ass. Be like,
Absolutely. You know it.
screw you, screw you,
Yes.
screw you.
Just like that. Because in St. Paul, it's not only in St. Paul's Hospital, but the Pleasant Hill community, there's a lot of people that access St. Paul's Hospital.
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of discrimination against Indigenous people, not only Indigenous people, but people who come from the street, not necessarily all Indigenous people, but street people.
Mhm.
And they're just treated like absolute garbage. And it just upsets me in a way that like I could get furious. I don't even want to get into it.
Oh, well, I mean,
It's tough. It hurts my heart to see people being treated like that,
Yeah.
because I know what it's like. And then for them to, a lot of them don't have that voice to speak up for themselves.
mhm,
So I will, if I see somebody being treated poorly, I
mhm.
am going to be that voice. I wanted to challenge myself. I did the interview and I remember just sitting there and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I bombed that interview. They're not going to take me as a student. And then the criminal record piece, that was, I was actually going to do it at the Women's Reintegration Unit, but we've been waiting for clearance and it was taking a while. So I needed to have another option. I thought,
Mhm.
I want to do it at the hospital.
That, in my opinion, that may be even more effective. I mean, maybe not, but
Yeah.
like for you to be at St. Paul's, I mean, also productive for you to actually see the other side. You might realize
For
things that
sure.
you didn't realize before and be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's why they were acting like this. Or because you never know the boxes that they have to check or the
Yeah.
forms that are like restricting their actions too, right?
For sure.
And I'm not trying to justify any actions that were
Oh,
held
no.
against you. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I bet you there's gonna be some good perspective gained.
I think absolutely. I think
Mhm.
I'll learn a lot.
Mhm.
It's going to be an eye opener for sure. I had wanted to do it in like the medical social work field. And when I got the call on Wednesday and they said they'd like to offer me the placement, and I was just so excited. Like, I was like, this is awesome. Like, I'm
Yeah.
going to go in there and I want to be that positive person, because I had, there's been situations where you go to the hospital and you just don't feel like you're being treated correctly. And it's tough. And so I want to be able to hopefully make the people in there comfortable and serve them to the best of my ability, and just treat everybody equally, because that's how it should be in not only healthcare, but all places.
Got some more comments coming in. We've got Rise North. Rise North, we haven't seen you for a while. Good to see you. She says, they always see me as an addicted native. Haven't been that for 15 years. Thanks for being here today, Rise North. And we've got, let's see, Sharon. That's my girl. She listened in class about the ass kicking portion. Does Sharon teach ass kicking in the system?
She's got a black belt, don't you know?
Oh, I know. Yeah. And I'm not sure. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. But thank you for the comment. And she says, how awesome. Super happy for you, girl.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So 4th year social work. Did you learn a lot about yourself while in that program? Because I know I did a semester and a half before I decided to go down this road with Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Right. And I, even in that short time, like there were realizations that I had from learning about the work that taught me something about myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially, the Indigenous social work program is like, it's been a pillar to my healing. Like, it's helped me understand so much from my childhood, from growing up with different experiences. It's given me tools and that I can utilize in my everyday life and also with other people that I work with. It's been a really healing journey for me, being a student at that school. Like, the professors are amazing. The students are great. It's like a big family dynamic. I've learned, so much about myself and so much that I'm going to be able to utilize in my future to continue to serve the people that I work with.
And it's such a different atmosphere than I was expecting to.
Yeah.
'Cause I just came out of a safety certificate program from Polytech. So I spent 10 months in school at Polytech, and what a different environment that was.
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
And one of the first classes I went into was with Gilbert.
Oh, nice.
Gilbert Q-Step.
Yes.
Yeah. And he was like, there's no books, there's no notes, just sit and listen. I'm like, what?
Yeah, for sure.
But he just like laid the wisdom down on us, right? And laid the teaching down. He'd bring in elders and they would talk, and it was something else. Yeah.
Yeah,
I enjoyed my
powerful,
time there.
for
Like, I
sure.
certainly didn't leave because I wasn't getting anything out of it. It was just a different path presented itself. And
Definitely. And I think you're where you're meant to be.
I have to agree for now.
Yeah.
You know, who knows what tomorrow
For
will
sure.
bring, but at this point, I agree.
That's right. There's no limit.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, you had a child.
I did.
And
Yes.
Now how old?
She is 7.5 months.
What was that like? Let's take even a step back further than that. You are in a relationship
I am.
with Owen.
Yes,
Is that your first serious relationship in recovery?
it is.
Tell us about that. What was that like, going into what I would consider, a healthy relationship with somebody who's also working down the same path?
Yeah, I think our stories are very similar. We can connect on that level of understanding where each other have come from. We support each other in ways where it's like, people say a relationship is 50-50, and I think, it's 100-100. And if somebody's lacking one day and somebody's feeling, 60%, the other person's going to pick up the rest of that and make it 100%. And we do that, we're able to hold each other accountable. We, something that I struggled with a lot because of my past toxic relationships. I was in very abusive relationships where I endured all types of abuse, and it was hard for me to be able to go into a healthy relationship. I remember at first I wanted to push him away. I thought, when is he going to do something? Like, this guy is too perfect to be true. He's too good
Owen,
to be
no,
true.
don't listen, Owen. Owen's head is going
No,
like
he's
this.
he's such an amazing person,
Yeah,
and he's
no,
helped
that's
me so
true
much to understand things about myself, and to really, like, I thank him so much for helping me to grow in ways that I didn't think I could. Like, I was kind of like stunted there for a little bit. I thought, I was comfortable, but he pushed me out of my comfort zone, and he helped me to even realize that I could be even more than that. Like, I struggled a lot with communication. I still do. I can admit I still do sometimes in my relationship struggle with communication. Like, when I sit here and talk to you, or when I'm at work, I can blab for hours, but sometimes in my relationship, I would shut down because I would go back to my old ways of being like a trauma response, where I would shut down because I would just, be upset, and I didn't know how to express my feelings. And he's helped me and given me a safe place to express my feelings, how I, if there's something bothering me, he just, we work through it. We talk about it. And it's not always easy for me to do that, but he helps me to realize that it's okay to have feelings, to talk about these things. It's a part of being in a relationship and working as a team.
What's the biggest thing you fight about? Let's go. Let's get real. Come on.
I honestly probably, I'm not even sure. I'd like to think that we haven't ever had like a super serious fight, which is great because we're able to communicate in a healthy way. But I can admit that, yes, my communication has like had those barriers to sometimes working through things. And that's something that I've been working on, and he helps me work through that as well, which I'm grateful for.
I think that's probably,
we teach each other things,
I think that's probably the biggest thing between Donna and I too, is communication.
Yeah.
It's tough.
We're still learning, right? It's an everyday journey. And, I'm so thankful to have him as my partner, and to be, I had been diagnosed with endometriosis, and I was told that there was a possibility that I might not be able to have children. And because I had tried to have children in my past, and it just never happened. And so when Owen and I were together, and then I found out I was pregnant, he was so supportive. Sometimes people think that you're a father once the baby's born into the world, but no, he became a father as soon as he knew that I was pregnant with our child. He had been supportive throughout the whole journey, and still is. He's great. She absolutely adores him, and it's a beautiful to see. He's a great father to all of his children. And I'm really blessed that, he allows me to be in all of his children's life. I'm glad, we're a nice big blended family. It's lovely. Yeah, so we had our daughter. I guess the way I look at it is Creator brought her into my life at the right time, because if I would have had a child years ago, it would have been unhealthy, toxic. I wouldn't have been able to love her to my full potential.
That was going through my mind too while you were talking. Like, I wonder if that's just Creator's will.
Yeah. And that's the way I see it, is like, that was like my little blessing. And to be able to be a mom, that's something that I always wanted. And so when I was told that by the doctors, I had to grieve that I was never going to be a mom. And then when I got pregnant, I was like, there's no way. So I did like a bunch of pregnancy tests, and then I was like, oh, they're all saying the same thing. And then it was just like, this is really happening. And
were you scared or were you happy?
I was scared, but I was so happy.
Yeah.
I was very calm throughout my pregnancy. I wasn't very stressed out. I was doing everything I needed to do, trying to eat healthier, getting a little bit of exercise in each day, not stressing myself out. And when Sequoia was born, that's my daughter's name, is Sequoia. I never knew I could love something so much. Like, just holding her was like the most, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. Like, it was like, I can't even put into words or describe how beautiful that moment was when I saw my daughter, like, for the first time. It was just life-changing.
We've got who do we got here? I hope I pronounced this right. Got the Denny Yadi podcast saying Sharon is an OG of OGs.
She is.
Yeah. The show's not about Sharon. The show's about Chey.
Sharon's great, though. We'll give her that shout out.
Yeah. What else? So, woman of distinction.
Yes.
What went through your head when that email showed up or that information showed up that you had been nominated? Like, was there any point that you like felt like an imposter, or were you like, it's about damn time?
I did kind of. I was like, me?
Yeah.
I'm nominated? Are you sure you didn't get me confused with somebody else? Because, yes,
send your ID
I've
like
been
this,
on my,
Shay?
I've been on my healing journey now for, some years now. And, but it was just like, whoa, it was like, I had to read that email a couple times, and I'm thinking, okay, do I respond to this right now? Do I take it in? What do I do?
Is
this for real? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did somebody hack me? Yeah. This is a sick joke. Who did this to me? Yeah. It was just crazy. And I couldn't believe it. I remember, and then they sent me another email a couple weeks later telling me to come in for my headshot and to do, like, get prepped for the ceremony, the reception, and then the gala. And the gala was just like insanely.
I saw pictures.
It was
you
beautiful.
and Owen just like done
Fancy,
right up.
I know. We fix ourselves up pretty good.
Yeah, I can't argue.
It was beautiful. I didn't end up receiving the award. However, just to be nominated and recognized for my personal and professional development over the years was a win for me. Making it out of the gang life, making it out of the addictions, fixing, working on my mental health, that's a win for me. And so in my eyes, I'm a winner.
What's in the future for Shay and Owen and little Sequoia? Sequoia?
Sequoia. Yes. Just good family bonding time. We have, our degrees, obviously. Owen's also a student. He's ahead of me. He'll graduate. I think he graduates. Well, he'll be done here. believe in 2 semesters, maybe. I'm 2 or 3 semesters, but he'll be done here pretty quick. Really proud of him for that.
What's the career look like in the future?
You know, I think just continuing to give back. I don't know what my future holds for me. I know that I just take things day by day. And I just want to continue on the route that I'm going. We do our public speaking. We now do it together as a couple where we're going out to different First Nations communities and sharing our story with youth, doing workshops, trying to plant those seeds in people's minds, because not everybody is going to be able to just change and be ready after hearing a presentation or hearing somebody's story. But when you're sharing your story, you're planting seeds. You don't know who's going to hear it. Maybe they hear something that's going to help them 10 years from now. Maybe it takes them 5 years. But just know that, you know, when you share your story, you never know who it's going to reach. You never know who it's going to help. And that's what I've really realized, that our stories are so sacred. Everybody has a unique story, and it takes a lot of bravery and courage to come on to things like this and be able to openly share about it. And I'm like an open book now. I want to be able to share my experiences. I want to be able to help guide others. And I'm always here for people if they ever need to reach out for anything.
Yeah. Just want to let you guys know that today's episode is also brought to you by the School of Public Health at the University of Saskatchewan. They just want to let you know that they have just launched a new graduate certificate program in substance use health and well-being. Sorry, Barb, I messed that up. If you want to learn more about that 1-year program, there's a link in the show notes. Check it out. If you're into it, click the link and get started. Shay, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, social medias. I work it straight up.
What's your name on Facebook?
Shay Elizabeth, Chey Elizabeth.
And you're also working in partnership with Owen on the brand Divine Design.
I am the co-owner of our clothing line, Divine Design Clothing.
Where can people check that out?
Follow our Facebook page, Divine Design Clothing, also Divine Design Presentations.
There's a website somewhere too, isn't there?
There is www.prestigiousproductions.com or .ca.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Like,
Owen, don't listen.
Oh no! He's gonna be. Don't be disappointed with me. I'm having a brain fart.
He's like, I'm no more than usual.
I'm still finishing my coffee.
All right, Shay. It was good having you on. Thanks so much for coming. Is there anything that you'd like to say before we let you go?
First of all, just thank you for having me. It's always great when we link up and are able to, work together. You're a real vibe, Dan. I love being here. I love helping out when I can. I want everybody out there to, just keep believing in yourselves. Pick yourself back up. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. Just got to keep pushing. Got to keep going. Reach out for help when needed. There's so many resources and people out there who are willing to help. Don't be afraid to reach out for help. We are here for you.
Awesome. All right. That's it. Thanks so much, Shay. Take care. Take care, everyone. Have a safe weekend. We'll see you Sunday night. That's it for now. And